Alright. It's 6 o'clock, October 15th, 2024. I'm gonna call to order the Town of Swanton Selectboard meeting. Alright, we got a red light there, we got a recording, we're good to go. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we go into agenda review, I just want to introduce our new select board member, Brendan Long. Thank you very much for submitting your name, and congratulations on being selected. Look forward to the next few months bringing you up to speed, and hopefully you throw your name in the hat for the elections coming up.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
I don't know if you have anything you want to say while you get, we'll give you a minute here if you do, or.
Oh yeah, just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to the board. Very excited to be working with you all and look forward to the next couple months.
Welcome aboard.
Appreciate it.
Has Kathy sworn him in or signed in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We, like the day or next day after.
Yeah, well, shortly after. Agenda review, Nicole?
None.
Earl?
No, all set.
I'm all set.
All set.
Steve?
Good.
Brian?
I will have to go in executive session briefly for real estate.
Okay. All right, so minutes of the select board meeting, 1 October 2024, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move. Second.
Moved by Earl, seconded by Steve. Any discussion?
Just had one question. We mentioned we were a little bit, not confused, but we didn't know exactly where the funds were gonna come from to repair the office.
Yeah.
I think Kathy was gonna check on it, that's all.
Yeah, and we still gotta close that. I mean, we got 2 or 3 different locations we can
Oh, okay.
take that out of,
Good.
but yeah. As a matter of fact, I asked her to print out an update of the general funds, you know, where we are year to date and the highway year to date. I just asked her that, so what I'd like is for her to mail that to all of us so we can see where we are.
Sure.
We can solve that.
And then the other funds that you're considering, the other accounts have, mail us a balance on that. We should make that decision at our next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have a better idea of
Yeah,
what's been
what
done
to
too,
pay back,
because
right. That's
they're
right.
gonna start here shortly, so, okay. Here, no other discussion. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Public comments, that's for anybody who is not on the agenda.
So I have a question.
Okay,
Do you have an update on the signs for Swanton?
an update on them? No, not at this stage. You're talking at the signs at the entrance?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, something that, we discussed it, we gave it to a previous select board member, and it hasn't gone very far, so what I see happening is over the winter, we'll get the signs made up and put them in the spring.
Sounds good. Thank you, Joel.
You're most welcome. Any other public comment? All right, we're gonna move on to law enforcement, Swanton Animal Control.
He did not, we don't have a report for this evening. He emailed me this morning and said that he got delayed and wasn't able to get the report done. But if he mails it in, I'll send it on its way to you.
Can't be anything bad happening
No,
there.
nothing terrible. Nobody's been bit that way. I got a report of that.
Yeah, I've had no calls either, so.
All right, moving on to expenditures. Expenditures are from 9/17/2024 to 10/15/2024. That way we will forego the dates each motion. But I will entertain a motion for the general expenditures at $124,047.76.
So move.
Hire a second. Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? I had a question on the Depot Museum expenses. It's a small amount, but curious what we're doing down there. It's on the last page. It's 118.43.
There's also one on the front page for a lock of some kind.
For a lot,
That was a lot for the tree.
for the booths. We had to put padlocks on it. People were getting in there. And then, we had, the last page.
Swan Village.
Not sure what that was.
I can get that from Kathy in your executive session if you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Maybe the security light needed to be replaced or something.
And another one, I'm just curious more than anything, is the 22,000 on the employee's retirement, is that once a
That's
year, or is that
quarterly.
quarterly? That is quarterly, that was the
She said this
question.
weekend she paid all the quarterlies.
Oh, there we go,
Or
third
insurance.
quarter,
So
years.
The library's got paid too, that's
Yeah.
in there this time too.
Alright,
Yeah.
so that answers that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Highway, I'll entertain a motion to approve 57,528.71.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded, any discussion?
Well, we got some tree expenses in here and I assume we're gonna have more.
We're gonna have more, and we are also trying to cut as many as we can, but some of them are just out of our
We got
capability.
that balance in that budget probably be interesting,
Yeah, we're doing pretty good so far, but, if I remember right, it was 13,000. I'll tell you in just a second what we started with, and we've only had a couple actually, against that line item. Tree served, 10,000, so we already in here, I think there's at least 3,000, right?
yeah.
Yep,
So still got some.
got some,
Yep.
and then, we're gonna increase that
Yeah,
line item for
it
next
looks like
year.
they had one different, tree notch above, that's different than the one with Gabry, but,
Yep.
happy with them too.
Yeah, very happy, that price, Kevin called me because it is a relative,
Yeah,
and he compared it to another quote he got, and it was better quote, and so I said, Kevin, if that's the case, we're gonna do it, try it, and yeah, we're good,
and the work was done.
and the work was done very well. It was an issue originally where he got sent away because the homeowner, said you didn't give us a heads up, because we were gonna give them the wood, but then we worked all that out, and the homeowner's very happy with what we did and got that, danger out of there, so.
Okay, well, it's good to have a competition, I think.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Library, I'll entertain a motion to approve $3,512.27 on the orders.
So moved.
Moved by Steve,
I'll second.
seconded by Brendan. Any discussion on the library orders? Hear none. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Did you have something?
Well, I assume everything went well with the test for the wax string wood.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. That's all.
I assume so.
Yeah. Highway and general payroll, I'll entertain a motion to approve $35,271.02.
All move to approve the email as stated.
Moved by Earl, I hear a second.
Second.
Second by Nicole. Any discussion?
Just an explanation of the check.
Some people get a paper check while others get a
Direct
direct
deposit.
deposit.
There's two, if you look, Earl,
Yeah.
it breaks them down.
Yep. Okay, I see.
There's
Yeah,
two people that get checks.
You know, that'd be me if I was not down too.
Any other questions? Hear none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so moved. Library payroll, entertain a motion to approve $8,163.73.
I'll move to approve the amount stated for the library.
Right here, second.
Second.
Seconded by Steve. Is there any discussion regarding the library orders? Just a second here. Oh, no, library payroll,
Payroll,
my
yeah.
mistake, that was library payroll for $8,163.73. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Alright,
Aye, opposed, so moved. Special funds, I'll entertain a motion to approve $9,666.14 in our special funds account.
I move to approve the amount as stated for the special funds account.
Do I hear a second?
Well, second, I have a question.
Second by Steve, discussion?
I noticed that we got a new Swan Pond liner, which I understand. And we had agreed to provide $7,500 for the new upgrade. Is that where that went?
Yes.
Okay. And we were gonna, the lady who did a really good job with that, said that they were gonna have a fundraising, and they expected some money to come in. Has that come in, and did the village contribute their share?
This is our share,
I realize that.
7,500,
Yep.
so it was 15,000. I don't know if the villages contributed it yet, but they were going to.
Okay. And
And then the other part of the fundraising, there's been some discussion as the type of structure they're gonna do for
Yeah.
their house, their little house there. So I'm not sure if they've really decided on a plan for that or not yet.
okay, my question is, should we have expended this money until the whole package was completed? Like the pledges and
Yeah.
the other thing?
I believe that they had ordered this liner already, so that's why they were.
Yeah, I think that was, my understanding, and I could be wrong, Steve, was that, you know, even if they can't do the other part, they've gotta do something with the
Yeah,
pond.
with the liner.
Yeah, that's gotta
Okay,
be done,
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
okay? Now, but we should probably double check, you can ask
Yeah.
Sue, right?
Right.
Suzanne.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Suzanne Washburn.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, let me know how they're coming on the other thing with fundraising and stuff.
Right.
yeah, you ask her that, and then you can email it to the rest of us,
Yeah.
so we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've
that's
seen
what-
some correspondence, I think it's on the Facebook community page about still trying to get other volunteers and stuff to help
Yeah, right.
do with, increase the size of the area and stuff. But yeah, if you could check on that, Brian, we appreciate that.
Gonna look nice.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Right?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so moved. Okay, after expenditures, it is moved on to Highway Department, a report from TAC by Mr. Harold Garrett. Harold, how are we doing this evening?
Good, thank you all, and I apologize I wasn't able to make last month, but I was in Missouri, so my brother's not well out there, and I thought that I should actually spend time to go see him, he has heart issues, so. But anyways, that went well. Since the last time I was here, we haven't done a lot on TAC, we've approved what's gonna be happening. And at the last TAC meeting, before I left, Earl was there and discussed the issue that you had on 78. And the next day, of course, Brian got the email and I think forwarded it to all of you. I went down and met with the general manager and he assured me that it would be taken care of, that he had no idea you guys had made any contact. But I told him to send an email immediately, and Brian said he got it within probably 10 minutes after I was there, and that it was gonna be taken care of, and it was. The guardrail issue, I don't know if I explained it to you, Brian, that, and I'm sure Brian knows this, because of the contracts the state has with the guardrail people, they can't put guardrails there because of their contracts. The contractor has to put them there, the state can't do it. It's part of the contracts. And so they can't put them there, but they assume that when they do the road over there, we'll put them there. But I see that it's done. Jordan told me the reason that there was a delay, of course, because of the water. You gotta get all the permits before you can do anything around that water. If it had washed the road away, they could have repaired it emergency blah, blah, blah. But the road was still there, so that's why they, but he did get it done. It doesn't look bad. I've been out through there a couple times now, headed to New York with a truck, and there's more shoulder now than was. So there is a little.
But it's an awful open area, it's not real, they really should, you know, if they're gonna wait till they do the road, and that may be another 5 or 10 years.
No, it's, wow. We know how that goes, right, Carl? We've been 35 years for the bridge.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
you and I were involved in that for a long
Right.
time.
And 4 times more than it originally had cost.
Yes, absolutely. But, the plan is, because it was supposed to have been done, they'll hold me to it, it's like 27. I think it's pushed out to 29 because of the wetland issues out there, and they had to redesign because they wanted that underpass for the wild animals to go underneath for the bridge. So they could cross underneath there safely, and of course, the big concern was, well, who's gonna teach the animals to use the underpass and not the road, and so that kind of went
Wow.
around.
in some ways, that type of system does make a lot of sense through.
Yeah, absolutely, but
Yeah.
they'd have to fence it so the animals would have to go there
Yeah.
to get across. But, it is gonna be done. And, so, we checked on that, we checked on 207. And I'm pushing that pretty hard out there on 207. I'm also pushing very hard on, I don't know if anybody's been up on 105 since they resurfaced it up through there. But where the 2 people were killed and then the young girl was killed on that same corner before you get to Sheldon Springs, you know what I'm talking about, but before you get to the cornfields.
Which one?
Okay, 105, go past the Mason Road,
Yeah.
to Sheldon.
Yeah,
That corner.
Yeah.
There was a young girl got killed in the car there, and her father was a sheriff or something.
Yeah.
And then the 2 people went down over the bank. That is a steep bank over right there, and I was always under the impression from, my involvement with highway and also with the state, anything that's a slope steeper than 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, it required some sort of restraint. And I mean, that drops off like 30 feet. There's nothing there. And so I'm pushing to why didn't, they put all that money in there, put all new guardrails everywhere else, put all new signs, and didn't put any guardrails on that corner. So the state hasn't got back to us on that. So that's one thing I'm pushing pretty hard, and my TAC committee is all on board with it. The other thing that we're pushing for the towns is we've been pushing safety forever. Even when I was working for the state, I mean, I was adamant about cars going by, and Brian, you probably heard about that, right?
Yeah.
Making it safer, getting signage out there to make, so the workers can work there. And my traveling around and the TAC members traveling around, we found that towns are very lax, not putting signs up, not doing their safety part of it. So we're pushing to get some sort of literature that we can distribute to the select boards to say, hey, this is what we need to do, because somewhere along the way, some worker is gonna get killed out there because there's no signs. There's workers working out there, and I've seen this not only in our town, but in other towns, where there's one guy out working by himself with earmuffs on, working with a piece of power equipment. He would not know that a car is coming. And that's just not safe. If OSHA ever found out, I've been to 3 OSHA 10 classes, and OSHA would give you a fine that you probably never recover from. So the signage for the towns, once we get this packed together, needs to go to the highway department. So when you're out there, you've got to get them signs out.
And you're talking about our town employees?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The state has got pretty good about it now.
Yeah.
But picking up a dead animal side the road with a flashing light, you don't need signs. But if you're working around guardrails and stuff like that with a weed whacker, you've got to have signs. The flashing light don't stop. And, you know, I've seen that, other people, and not only in our town, but other towns I go through see the same thing. We're trying to make it safer for town employees so that they do not get hurt. This is really, really, really big thing. And, so, that's one of the things we're pushing. The other thing I think is gonna come down the pipeline, because big trucking companies are doing it now, and even the state is doing it now, is cameras in their trucks. Big companies say that if I drive by you, Earl or Joel, you call my company and say, he cut me off and sideswiped me. It's my word against yours. But if I got a camera, I'm gonna know, you're gonna know if that truck was there at that time and what he was doing and what his speed was. So I think that eventually coming out of the state, that's gonna happen, that cameras in the trucks are gonna be a big thing. And the other big thing that we're pushing is backup cameras on all the trucks.
Are you talking private trucks or state trucks?
State and all town trucks
Okay,
would have a camera in them. Big companies all now are required to have a camera in them. They've got to have a camera in them to see what's coming and what you're doing in there. Because they want to know if you're doing this, if you're talking on the phone, if you got a headset, talk all you want. But don't put that phone to your ear, because it's state law. And I think that's coming down the pipeline, and I think that somewhere along the way that the towns might want to think about, somewhere along the way, putting money aside to get, especially backup cameras. If you back over somebody or back into something. I can remember, and I was the one, I backed into, at the town of Georgia, backed onto another road. Woman behind me said I backed up, and she had to back into a tree. We had a camera. Truck never got anywhere near it, town didn't pay her. But if there wasn't a camera, the town would pay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just safety, guys, that, you know, to keep in the back of your mind that somewhere along the way, there is programs out there that you can get money to pay this stuff, especially backup cameras.
Backup camera, yep.
You know, so
And they're
you
pretty
might,
easy to install now.
easy to install, and it would save, you never know, a little kid runs out behind you, you know, the guys are tired, they've been out there for 16 hours plowing snow, and it's just something that you might wanna think about. But other than that, I don't know, it's, we seem to, you know, we're, as Earl knows, that when we were there, we seem to be plodding along, and I guess, there again, like I told you last time, I seem to find more issues with stuff that's happened in Swanton on the state roads and stuff, that the guys from the state, I'm going, hey, help us out, fix what we got a problem with there, show us how we're gonna fix it. And, but we've been pretty lucky there, but we've asked for that accident report for Woods Hill. I don't think they've been there yet. Has anybody seen it here?
No,
No.
no.
Not specific to Woods Hill, but in the study for the road, they did show 3 years worth of accidents, so
Yeah.
there is some data there. I wanna jump back to the guardrails. So the state has a contract.
Yeah.
So the contractor has to be the installer, so the state can go with that contractor to put rails there, right?
Right,
Whether they have it in their budget or not, or whether they wanna do it or not, but the state has the ability to put guardrails on
Yes.
78.
yes,
Yeah.
So I think we as a select board, if we're interested, should write a letter
sure,
and let them tell us no, but at least get on record that we think there should be guardrails installed
Well, and
there.
I know that you had your meeting last week, Harold, but, you know, I think regional planning ought to be involved in this too.
yep,
Because that's a very key road, and the repairs, or whether rebuild, whatever,
oh yeah,
really isn't, doesn't reflect the importance of that road. I don't understand state thinking on that. Beyond that, those guardrails should be there.
oh, absolutely,
Granted, they did put as much bank as there was there, but still,
And
it's not good, it's not safe.
and it's from there and
Yeah.
even farther west.
Yeah.
I mean, when you,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I just can go on record. I don't know if everybody else. We'll get you to draft a letter and,
Oh, sure, I can, you know, our next TAC meeting, we'll get them to draft a letter.
but
To the
I'll make the motion for the select board that we, request that, they put guardrails along, that's section 78.
Yes. Yeah. It,
was, we sent the letter to repair it. Did the letter say guardrails?
No, I
No.
didn't. No,
Okay, it was
I
just
don't know if it did or
repair.
not.
To repair.
It was just repair.
We just-
Okay.
We just, common sense would assume guardrails.
All right, so you've got the motion. Do I hear a second?
Common sense.
Do I hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Seconded by Brendan. Any other discussion about preparing a letter to the state highway about putting guardrails on 78 near the river?
Can we make sure to send Harold a copy of that letter?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll send one to plan and
Yeah.
to you, and to you as well.
Yeah.
I'll take it with me, and
Yeah.
actually, I'll get TAC and, I'll try to get Catherine to
Yeah.
let the whole.
Yes, yes, talk to
the
Catherine
whole
about
original
it, yeah.
Commission get on board with it. I mean, now we got 16 towns instead of 2.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah,
Here.
sorry,
Go ahead.
if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Harold, just a quick question for you, just to make sure I'm fully understanding. When you spoke to the signs of keeping those workers safe, is it a lax use of the signs, or is it that the towns don't have the signs that we need to get for them to use?
I believe, unless things have changed, the town of Swanton is adequately signage. We bought a lot of signs. We have everything out there and everything. It's just not the town of Swanton, it's town of Fairfield, the town of Shelburne. You see it all the time, and you're thinking, okay, you come up onto this guy that's working side the road, and all of a sudden, you know, everybody's driving 45, 50 miles an hour, and the guy's out there on the side of the road, you know, working his butt off, and it's hot in the summertime and everything,
Yeah.
there's not a sign.
Right.
And it's very important that, the sad part would be if somebody got hurt, even if they get hurt, OSHA's involved.
Yeah.
First thing I'm gonna ask is that,
Yeah, Harold,
the
I just got, I'm
JSA
gonna jump in on this because with the discussions related to the guardrails right now,
Yeah.
and,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, no problem.
Just- One thing I wanna add to that guardrail discussion, this time I think we should put that letter in the messenger too. That.
Well, we can as a group decide that. I'd rather wait till we hear back from the state before we flash it into the
Well,
messenger.
I think they need a little public pressure to do this, because it happened before. That's the only way you got it done.
Okay, that's your opinion,
Well, let's-
Earl, and I think
Let's
is,
see how they respond first. I don't need to, you don't slack the beehive before you take the honey off.
yeah, I think in all fairness, they listened to us with 78 to some degree,
Yeah,
the
let's
High
give 'em a
Gate Road
chance. Let's
and.
give them a chance.
Yeah, I think I have a,
Alright,
next
you wanna
week.
wait, then wait.
I think there's a regional meeting next week. And if there is, if you could, Brian, just send me an email what you'd like me to actually present to them.
Yeah. Well, we can send you a copy of the letter.
Yeah, all right, so
Yeah.
again, any other discussion regarding the letter? Here none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved, so Brian will get one, he'll send us a note, we'll come in and sign it and get a copy to you.
Okay,
Yep,
then I'll get it out to the other people. But,
anything else, Harold?
no, that's it, I think it's good, I think, every now and then for me to, you know, once every 3 months, we can tell you where we are and what we're working on. And to let you know that we're not, and we do spend a lot of time on the stuff that, and if the town brings us something to us that we don't know, you know, if something that you guys want the tax to, you know, hammer the state on a little bit, you know, have Brian or somebody send me an email there,
Absolutely.
and, so that we can bring it to them. And they've been a lot better about listening to us than what they used to be.
Good.
And, I will, later on, you guys be out of here by 7.
I don't know about that, but we'll try.
Okay.
Thank you, Harold.
Yeah, thank you guys, and have a good evening.
Good job,
Thank you.
good job.
Okay, on the subject of flags and workers, even when we put out flaggers, the highway department, and put out 3 signs ahead of where we're doing work, still having issues.
Oh, sure.
So it's, not just a single person out
No,
there
no.
and safety involved. Kevin just told me today of 3 different signs and lady on the phone, and they almost had to throw something at her to get her attention to come to a screeching halt before running into them. It's terrible. The driving out there is terrible, but we won't dwell anymore on that. So real quick, vehicles up at the highway are in good shape. Everything is operational right now. I've been very busy hauling sand. Today was gonna be the last day. The shed itself is full of sand and mixed with salt, ready to go. Beavers up on Swanton Hill area are a problem. Kevin called me last week and I authorized him to hire a couple people to remove the beavers. They're spending so much time going up there and undoing the beaver dams and going back, and just the travel time and chasing up there. It's like, no, for a few $100s, it's like, just take it right out of the culvert fund. It's crazy.
Money well spent.
Yeah. Hey, I've been cutting trees on Pond Road. They've been doing some vehicle repairs. And Saturday morning, Kevin and Brandon were out picking up some trees and tree limbs, stuff that had fallen. Showed me one of the pictures of a pretty good sized tree that was in the middle of the road. Next few weeks, they're going to be getting salt delivered, more trees. Next week they're going to put the plow frames on. They're not going to mount the plows yet, but they're going to get the plow frames on the trucks, and then a little more service of the trucks, getting them ready for the winter. This week was the end of the 410s, and they are going back to the 8-hour schedule and prep for the winter. I don't know if anybody has any other questions right now. Kind of short and sweet, but things are going pretty good up there. Or I didn't even say pretty good. Things are going very well up there. Okay, under Old Town business, boundary line adjustments.
Okay, just that the attorneys for all 3 parties involved with that have got all the information. So it's in their court to do what they need to do. They've got each other's contact information. The notice for the conveyance of the real estate that we had to publish officially went out and posted today, and that's going to be out there for 30 days. More than likely probably take the lawyers at least that long to get done what they need to do. So that's the update on that. So.
The only thing I'll add is someone cornered me today, and the town's giving away 5 acres of land. That was the comment. Instead of, and I explained to them the exchange of land and three different parties, and there's benefits to everybody. So things were much better after that.
Okay.
Yeah. So folks here, please help try to defend why we're doing this. Makes all the sense.
I think something on our website should explain
You make it
exactly
cooler
what's
in there.
happening.
It's really stuffy.
That people understand that the school has been using this property, but they don't legally own
It
it.
says that in the post.
I know, but they should put it on the website, I'm
Well,
saying,
the website-
specifically to what it
The
is.
notice is on the website.
I know, but from the select board, just so people get a better feel for it. I mean, it's a posting, and it covers everything we're supposed to cover, but it doesn't really give a person an understanding that, that the schools need this land, and plus we get this additional land for our garage. And land that we're actually using now too.
Cleans it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, once they understand that, then they realize it.
All right. 7B, town office repairs.
Okay, the repairs will start 1 week from today on the 22nd. The actual repairs, what you see here, some cables have been laid in, some of the computer equipment is going to get moved tomorrow into this room. This room will become the clerk's office. So these cables are the temporary setup for that.
Will they still come through the front door and then walk through here or over
No, they're really going to use the side door.
Okay.
Yeah, and it'd just be easier that way. That way we don't worry about anybody tripping. And then when the construction starts, they're building a temporary wall in an L shape so that the clerks can keep an eye on the vault, but nobody can just walk in and get into the vault without them knowing it. So that's the status there right now.
Good. Did we get word that we're gonna be able to get cables? The coordination's gonna take place to get additional cables in the
Actually, I
clerk's
think
office?
he's, yeah.
Yeah,
he's
I
all
know there was
aware
talk
of
and
that.
so that's
yeah.
good, cause it's time to do that while we
Yeah.
get this place opened
Yeah.
up. Okay.
So our computer guy is doing all this, right? Moving.
For the, yeah.
So what's the cost gonna be, or is he doing it by per diem
Well,
or
he
whatever?
gets,
Just by the hour?
when we get the bill, I told Kathy that they'd give me a copy of it so we can keep track of everything, because we haven't heard from the insurance company yet, but we will be putting in a portion of that cost too. Maybe not the additional cables, but certainly,
Right.
yeah, they will be putting that in.
Okay.
He also-
Oh, and I've also,
The cleaners.
I was just gonna mention that. Also, I've contacted for a professional cleaning company to do the job, to go through and clean the building after everything is done. And they said that their flat charge would be $500, and I said, is that for the entire, it'll be the entire first floor? Yes.
This room too?
Everything, right from the start all the way through. Well, they're not available until it works out well. They're not available until the week after next. And I said, well, before you get started, come in and be more comfortable if they look to see what needs to be done. Very few people ever get down past there to see what the size of the building is, so they should come in, to be fair to them, to take a look. But they're talking $500, so yeah, we will have it cleaned professionally.
Nice.
Local?
Yeah. Dust bunnies. They're the ones that cleaned the library when we had that work done, and they did a very good job.
Okay, any other questions on the repairs? It'd be nice to get that started, and even nicer when it's completed and we're back to operating normal.
Definitely.
4th Street.
Well, today we received the report from DEC that they handed out prior to the meeting. It's fairly self-explanatory. It took so long, it's just a one-pager. But the bottom line, they may have to do some additional testing once we know exactly, and there's a plan developed with the recreation, with the fields and the parking, and how it's going to be laid out. They will want to have some input on that, and probably run something by the Department of Health review for a risk assessment. I have not had an opportunity to talk to our engineers who would understand this better, so I think when I hear from them, and then whatever the board's pleasure about starting the development on that, and start getting some ideas. Now, that mention about the photo of the pipe, that's only a foot under the surface, so if they want a photo of that, have Kevin dig it and see what they got.
Well, check with the engineer.
Yeah.
Whether, because of Kevin, I don't know if he's had the 40-hour
Oh, yeah, for the 40 hours.
training that's necessary, even though, anyway, just check with him.
I will, yeah, I'll.
And then
talk to him.
I'm gonna ask, and then if another board member wants to attend, fine, I would like a conference call
With the engineer.
with the engineer.
Yeah.
I'd like to sit down and chat with him and
Yeah.
see what.
Okay, I'm sure we can arrange
Yeah,
that.
because, we've been asked, people, what we can do with that, and we're saying we gotta wait till we get this, so right now we come up with a plan, but then we gotta go back to this.
Oh, yeah, they want more
Yeah.
work. A site-specific background study
Yeah.
could be conducted,
Yeah,
and then
So depending on the
risk
use.
assessment, yes.
It might get worse,
it could, yeah.
Yeah.
so I
Of
guess.
which we told them, I thought, what the plan was, and, here the state's asking, well, actually, they're saying, is it still to be developed into a recreation
Right.
area?
Getting it done the way that they're suggesting probably is a good idea, in case we change our use, our plans for the use of the property, we don't have to start over. So, I don't think it's money wasted.
So I'll try to get some dates and get back to you on when we can get a conference call with the engineer.
Yeah, and we'll pass it out, and if anybody else wants to attend, please do.
Yeah.
My question would be, do we keep going forward, or we just leave it as it is right now until somebody comes up with a plan?
We gotta pay an engineer to come up with a plan.
Yeah, but if, you know, I mean, if we come up with a plan to use the property, then you get the engineer to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, are we changing our minds from using that for rec fields right now?
I guess not, so you.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm
That's
asking
what
the
the
board.
goal is, if it's gonna be a rec field, and that's what we should tell him we wanna do with it, then he could specifically say what we have to do with it.
Correct, they need to know what the use is
Yeah.
for the levels
Yeah,
of
rec
cleanup.
field, does that include a parking lot, obviously, and will it include restrooms? You know, that's what they'll probably need to do that assessment, but that's where we can talk to them about it and find out. How much detail do we need in our, do they want a full plan done? Or
Well,
just an idea, conceptual?
I think we tell them what the general use is gonna be. The plan I'm talking about is what they've gotta come up with now of what level they think it needs to be cleaned up to.
Right,
To facilitate rec fields and parking lots. Restrooms, I don't really see that as an issue, but we can certainly talk to them that could potentially be there, a pavilion or something, but the real health and the cleanup piece is the people running around on the field,
right.
kicking up the dirt and that sort of thing, so that's what they've gotta determine what level to clean up to, and then they gotta propose to the state how that cleanup's gonna be done, and tell us how much it's gonna cost, and it's another whole, I think it's called a risk assessment and feasibility study, I think is the next step in this thing. Of which,
You maybe ought to cap some of the area with the parking lot too, you know,
right,
depending what the requirement is. If that's what it's gonna be, then that's what we should ask them. Then they would tell us where to go, and how, what we need to do. Then we can get a cost figure.
We have parking across the street too, if it's used in after-school hours, so.
yeah, that's certainly can be used, and what we might find is as part of the plan to clean up the area is it's gonna be cheaper to build a little parking area
Oh, sure.
over digging up and hauling off the soil, so that's stuff that can be determined once, we're gonna have to get them under contract and go to the next step,
Yeah.
if we're gonna do anything now.
Yeah, okay, so I'll find out some dates and times and let you know.
Alright, anything else on that?
No,
Moving on to local option tax, page 7,
you,
legal opinion.
that's the legal opinion that we received. Now, I'm sure the village, I know that the village would like to have a joint meeting so we can discuss this. I and see what their feelings are and how to best go about this. And I think, my own personal opinion is one way of possibly getting what we thought we could do to begin with is to get our legislative delegation involved and actually do a bill that would permit two governments from having one tax and, sharing plan. I'm not sure how that would fare out in Montpelier, but it's common sense, really, but maybe not every town and village relationship is the same as what we've got.
So I want to back up. The first thing that we got from Monahan and Safar was that the village can enact, village voters can vote for 1% basically in the village.
That's right.
And then the town could vote separately,
Right.
which includes the village,
That's
people
right.
living in the village, which would add another 1%.
So they would
In the
have
village,
basically the village people would have
And we would get 1% from the areas, the businesses in just the town.
Right.
But the village businesses would have to charge 2%.
Correct. Yeah, 1% would come to
People
us,
in the
1% would go to the,
But I think when the vote would be taken for the town, let's say that the village did their vote, and they
Right.
passed the 1%, when the vote is taken in the town, then the village voter, it'd be a town-wide vote.
right, including the people living in the village.
So I'm not sure how that would fare.
Right, but
More
it's,
people live in the town.
Right.
so yeah, it's almost 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the numbers.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just don't see that ever happening, it's just not, it wouldn't be a very sustainable practice, especially for the businesses.
Right.
We're not talking about an overall 2% tax.
No, no.
Okay,
No.
make that clear.
Well, that's what it would be if
It would be if we went
If
there.
the village voted separately and the town voted separately, it'd be 2% additional.
To the village.
That sounds excessive.
Well, that's why I said, Brian, go back to Monahan and Sapphire. Can we do one vote and split the money? And basically, he's saying he doesn't think the state statute allows that to happen, because
Unless
then,
the
Yeah,
statute is.
that's his opinion.
Unless they change.
yeah, because then that would be 1% for everybody. All the businesses would be at 1%, and we worked down with the village, come up with an agreement on how we were gonna split it. But,
And if it would make the state happy when they do the bill to allow that, they probably would put a formula in that bill. So, you know, it's
to
set in
me,
stone.
it's probably a sentence or two in the statute.
Yeah,
Change,
Yeah.
but whether you can climb that mountain through Montpelier or not, it's a different story, but, yeah, I agree with you, 2%,
Let's scare people
we'll
away.
all be out on the street here.
So I guess, is it also, there's a part of it that's, do we just have an agreement of how the funds will be used that are generated from it? Or is it an agreement of it has to be split between the village and the town? Because we could also go about it of the use of this tax needs to be put towards these services and items that could be, you know, it benefits the whole town instead.
And I think that's what he's talking about in the last page,
Yeah.
about the options, and he
The
said, he said, I don't think either of these, approaches would satisfy it. Yeah, cause to me, it'd be good to get an agreement with the village on, okay, do we use it for parks and recs or something, because they have parks, we have some rec and that sort of thing, commit to it, but when I'm reading here, it didn't sound to me like
Sound
he
like that.
think that we could do that.
The amount of money isn't that large.
Well, it will accumulate though over time if we manage
Well,
it.
100,
well, it's what,
It
3
was like 330,000 a year roughly.
230,000.
total?
That's rec department and, you know, they're probably what they pay to maintain their parks budget right there alone, you know, I mean, that's.
Well, are there restrictions on that in the statutes of how that money can be used by the towns or cities?
It can be used for, I believe, for generally specific, you know, they're pretty general. You know, capital improvements, they can't be used to probably fund, well, other towns have used them to pay off bonds. So, you know, it's very generally, I think there's some areas that you cannot use it for, but I think the village wants to use it for capital improvement, and they probably will say at their meeting, but I think they're gonna save up some money for that bridge. And quite honestly, when we first started talking about this and we were doing research, I thought if we were to build the proposed rec center, I thought that would go, that's both for the town and the village, and that would be a sizable chunk to go to the bond payment each year. But, so, you know, that would then a joint purpose, but,
Yeah, these taxes are not predictable. You're not gonna know from year to year what you're gonna get. It's like any sales tax or the bank franchise tax, it's totally unpredictable. That's why I think we should be using it solely for capital improvements. And I would be adamantly opposed to using a penny of it for operating expenses. I think we need to put the operating expenses back in front of the voters every year to.
What about equipment replacement? Now, this is where it gets a little thorny, I think. I'm more specific to the police and fire than the highway department, because if it was a general fund thing, then, you know, the village pays, if you live in a village, you pay the general fund tax. So, you know, I mean, they benefit from that just as
Right.
well as people in the town. Everybody wouldn't benefit. It's hard to sell that today, you know, the same world don't do that anymore, for some reason. But, you know, I don't know what the village's plans are. I know the town needs a plan, and I think if we're gonna do anything on the recreation side, we're gonna have to find some way to pay for it. Because right now, raising property taxes is just not gonna happen. But, you know, what are the other options? This is an option.
Yeah.
Well, we're a long ways away, and, you know, we might also consider that we would only spend a percentage each year of the monies that were gathered, and we would target those for some major capital improvements, so that we don't wipe the fund out every year,
Yeah,
and then not sure where the money's gonna come from. So we might use a portion to build up a reserve, but that's a long ways out.
I think we gotta be careful, cause if we don't, if we have to act separately and we don't act promptly and the village passes it,
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
then there's no way we're gonna get it enacted,
and it's-
you know, so it's gonna be very
Wow.
interesting,
I mean, you might be able to get it enacted, but it would not be the right thing to do if the village does it on their own.
well, that's what's gonna happen if they're interested in doing it, and they both entities have to do it separately, then if they go ahead and do it, they could have it on the March ballot. If it gets approved, then it's approved, and I think we'd have a very hard time trying to go 1%
Yeah. I
for the
mean,
full town,
No, you just.
and they could end up having it, and we could sit out there, and not have the opportunity.
One thing you might wanna look at is if, say we had to go with a 1%, what's the possibility of us amending it after it passes to go to 1% overall? You can talk that, Brian, from a
You
legislative.
can't do it, really.
Well, again, it would take the legislature to change the law.
Yeah.
We couldn't amend it afterwards.
Well, you probably could by if there was either, when they changed the state law and they put in the language how it's gonna get split, and then you could go, each entity would go to their voters and say, we wish to amend the collection of the local option tax to follow the formula set in the new statute, blah, 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 blah. That might be possible, yeah, I don't see where it wouldn't be. But I mean, if you're looking at a legislative fix, there's plenty of time right now to get a bill introduced and passed and signed if it, and in effect by town meeting.
In effect by town
In
meeting?
effect by town meeting. I mean, they can move it fast when they want to.
This benefits one,
Well, no, it benefit all town and village relationships.
possibly.
Yeah, something they may not have realized, but my question would be, can the tax department actually split stuff that's bought in the village and stuff that's bought?
Well,
in the
they
town?
say they can.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'll leave that to their
But
computers.
it gets into, again, the legality, we
Yeah.
are a separate
Yeah,
entity, and the village is, so even if they could split that, we
Yeah.
can't necessarily give that money.
No, I
To the
know,
village,
but if they change the law,
Right.
can they do it? You're telling me that, because I wasn't thinking they could even do that, but you're saying they can.
they say they can.
Okay, so then if they change the law, it could be done.
Right.
So, but just to take a step back though, this would still require voters to approve.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
correct.
And is that a
Always,
huge assumption that
Yeah.
anyone's gonna be okay with a
Right.
1% increase?
Not really.
In already an inflated environment for
Yeah.
groceries and everything else,
Yeah.
and do we need a study or something else that states how many consumers that would have purchased goods in Swanton overall will now go the town over to save that percent or 2%?
No,
It's one of the advantages, St. Albans Town and City both have a
Have the
local
1%.
tax. So,
and Highgate's talking about it.
yeah, well, you know,
Yeah, it's, there's a lot of different dimensions to this,
Oh, definitely.
as we head into the budget preparation and the vote in March.
But I think going back to the improvements, though, if we can attach, these are the improvements that you will get by having this tax. I think that's a much easier sell of,
Right,
you know,
and they're gonna
promise
go
over the
for
next 5,
specific.
10 years.
Right.
These are the improvements that you can expect, and then after those 10 years, this is the next batch of improvements that we're gonna be working on afterwards. I think that's a much easier
Oh,
compromise.
I agree.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I wanna back up to something Steve, and he said he would be opposed to it because we don't necessarily know how much revenue we're gonna get. We may not know the exact amount, but we certainly know the magnitude of what we would get every year, and I could see possibly offsetting some operational expense if there was some improvement on the very low end, so it was only a small percentage of the overall. You know, if it was 300,000, if we said it was worth it to bring an employee, and I'm not even gonna say where possibly the employee was gonna be, that it, you know, for 60 or 80,000, we know we're gonna get at least that much revenue from it, and then the other go to improvements.
No, you know where I stand, but if we were gonna bring an employee on, maybe that is acceptable, as long as it's not a long term. Because then we've just committed to the long-term operating expenses of an employee.
Which we do through the property tax that we gather and hire. It depends what the employee was. I'm just,
Oh, no, I understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just throw that out and,
Yep.
kind of countering what you were saying, but just for
it would
discussion
have-
purposes.
It would have to be voter approved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any use, you know, if we go for the tax, you have to have a plan of how you're gonna use the money.
Absolutely, and I think it's a great thought process for us to get into, because it's the end of October right now. As far as our meetings, and we're only a
Next
few months
week.
away.
Next Thursday and Friday, I will be attending the Vermont CMA, which is the Town City Managers Association. Bill and I are both going down, and so there's about 45 or 50 of us there, and I'll seek out people who are in a town village situation, and just, do you realize, and then see what, and then that's what we, if they're in.
Well, the other thing, you know, if we really need, we gotta have a meeting with the village
Right,
trustees
we
right
can
off,
dig it,
it's
yeah.
very quickly.
Right, so I can
For this
also,
specific issue.
I'll also talk with Bill, and we'll set up when they wanna meet. Yep.
I would prefer we wait till after our November meeting, so we
After
can
November.
discuss this further, if you
Yeah.
get some information and give us
Yeah.
all a chance to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay.
that's just my thought. People have something different, let me know.
that's good.
I agree.
Okay. All right, enough of that one. New town business, requested Mr. Richard Cummins for right-of-way for water line under Shoalen Road. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Come on up to the table and join us.
Yeah. Got a new shoulder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
New sore shoulder right now by the looks. Kinda early in the process, yeah.
But anyhow, you have it listed, the Shoalen Road right of way is the first one. And I'm planning on a water line, an 8-inch water line from the state garage across the Shoalen Road and up my property to feed the future development that we got going.
So this would be under the paved section already?
There's nothing paved there.
I mean,
This
this
is a
would be
new road.
But under the Shoalen Road.
Oh, no, it's not the paved section.
This is not the paved section.
They're just short of us.
No, what I'm getting at, if it's not the paved section, instead of boring under there,
Oh, we just dig it up.
just dig it.
Yeah, because that's the old road.
Yeah,
We can put that back.
yeah.
Yeah, so I just.
If you want to prepare a actual right of way or an easement of some sort, or,
I can do that,
yeah, I think just
as long as you guys approve it, I don't know.
I don't see where, Kevin and I talked about it, if it was under the paved area, then we'd want you to bore, but if it's under the
No,
area that's not paved,
no
we'll come
problem.
up and take a look, you know, the backfill and that sort of thing, but just open dig it.
Sure, good.
Can you discuss the amount of houses you think that'll serve, or is that confidential?
Well, no, that's an 8-inch line. I mean, that'll
Water.
supply, for all the houses plus. I mean, I wanted to make it so future development, the people on the Highgate Road, you know, if they wanna bring it across the road, they could service that area. All the houses that are in there now all have wells.
This for your new houses, new development.
The new,
Will you own the line, Rick, or will the association own the line?
I own the line,
You will.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I gotta live long enough to get my money back, you understand that?
Yeah, oh, you will.
I don't know about
Who
that.
pays the fees for the water usage?
The
homeowners?
owners pay the usage and they
Who
pay the allocation fee. It's a $2,000 fee for every home. And
To tie into it.
to tie into the city
Yeah,
water.
Yeah,
And they put the meter in and do that kind
but
of
then
work.
they have a monthly fee for the water too, don't they?
I think it goes up quarterly,
Now, who's that money go to?
the city,
The city itself,
yeah.
for the water service.
So how many houses do you think you're gonna put in?
Well, I'm getting ready for, here's the plan. The first section, all we've got is 3 approved lots right now. And that was just so we could get the summer and get things organized and know where we're putting the mount systems, where, you know, all this stuff that we're doing. And then I'm planning on doing, let's see, if I got only 1 lot as an Act 250 lot, so I can put in 8 more lots next year. And I gotta sell them fast in order to get my money back for this $125,000. So,
Well, thank you for what you're doing. We need the
Yeah.
housing up there.
then in 5 years, I'll get another shot for 9 more, but then I'll never see the rest of it. You know. My nephews know how to do that stuff.
All right, so you'll get either an easement or a right of way for us for this water line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll have it prepared.
and if I get a board, I'd like to get it
Bring it in
officially
to-
approved,
to you.
subject to an
Tonight, or
easement. Well,
the easement comes here.
I would say we approve putting the 8-inch line, subject to a right of way or an easement being prepared and signed, but at least it's on record of it, we're
What would the
approving it.
board prefer? Would we prefer a right-of-way or an easement? There's a difference, of course.
Yeah,
I think we have with the other property owners, we have, is it an easement or do we own the road? I remember we had a big discussion about that. Or, I think we didn't give up ownership of the road, but the state's gonna take care of it for us. So we ended up with ownership versus an easement or anything else. So what would we prefer here?
I think easement was give you the most
Yeah.
leeway. Yeah.
I know we did an easement for the power, I wrote it up for the village, for the power to get over to the LVRT parking area. We did an easement, utility easement, that's what I would say,
Most
utility
of the-
easement.
Well, not on the village board, utilities, it's easements.
I think we ought to pursue the easement. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
can I get a motion for that?
So move.
Second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and second to approve an easement for a water line under Shoalen Road for Mr. Richard Cummins. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
All right, 8B is a request to Mr. Richard Cummins for takeover of Jerry Mill Lane.
This one, I don't know how we're gonna handle it. I mean, we built it to A76 standards, but that's what we were told by the town. But when you really bore down into the A76 standards, they don't get specific about how much pavement, unless you got a 7% grade or you have a lot of heavy trucking. So we have 4 inches of pavement, and your policy says 5 inches of pavement. So I called the engineer and I says, geez, what's going on with this? This seems like an awful lot. So he went out and he checked with Essex Junction and I think the town of Essex. They're 4 inches. And then he checked with Milton and they're 4 inches. So I don't know, I just won't be able to have the road taken over if that's the case.
It's paved already.
It's paved already.
And you meet all the other
I meet
requirements
that,
of policy.
I've got inspection reports here.
What about that fabulous wastewater?
Stormwater.
Stormwater.
We have the
That might be your
stormwater,
better name.
I've got the stormwater permit,
Yeah, but is the road separate from the houses?
Yes, it's the road.
We're not,
yeah.
we are not interested in being partners with a housing association.
no, nobody is. The housing association doesn't wanna be partners with the housing association.
But that's what the state's making people do with these stormwater
Well, they're
permits.
forcing it because of stormwater, yes.
Do they
But do you
have,
have a separate
I'm all-
do you have a separate stormwater permit for
Separate.
the road?
For
Or
the-
is it for the project?
No, I have because they do the number of acres, that's amount of impervious that you have.
No, I understand
To
that,
build the
that's,
storms, the ponds big enough.
so your stormwater permit includes the road
The
and
road,
all the
driveways,
properties.
roofs.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the other board members talk, we've had this discussion that we're not really interested in because we're already got another deal that's
No, I've been-
no easy solution
I've
to.
been maintaining these ponds for, not necessarily just here, but for 24 years. And, we've got roads and everything.
yeah, but our concern is, and it should be pretty clear in that policy, is that we don't wanna be responsible for homeowner runoff. We're responsible for the road runoff, but, you know, we'll accept that responsibility because we do on every other town road, but we don't, not out of people's yards. So
Yeah, I
that
don't
means they
even
would
think you
have,
should take it for the road runoff. I mean,
well,
we're-
that's not
we're
our
built,
policy.
we're built to handle the road runoff.
But that's not, there's an annual, there's requirements to maintain it.
Yeah,
And
Yes.
what the state is doing in other properties, it's the 3 acres and above, and they're going after, and they want, like the town of Swanton and another area that was developed years ago to become co-permittees with, and they don't even have a housing association right now. And they want these people to create one,
Mm-hmm.
they want us to be co-partners on this, or co-permittees on this
To
permit.
do with that.
And so that's exactly what's happening here.
yeah, that's what would happen here. If the road was a separate permit, then fine.
Well, I'll talk to my engineer tomorrow.
Yeah.
Who is it? Who is it?
Peter Mazurek.
Yeah, he's very familiar with this, trust me. He will know exactly why you're calling him, and
Okay, I'm
he
surprised
can get hold of me if he
I'm
wants.
surprised he didn't mention it to me.
He was probably hoping we'd forgotten about it, but
Yeah.
we're not gonna forget about this,
Can
trust
I
me.
ask,
Absolutely.
just a question, Rick, you mentioned that we're asking for 5 inches and your road is 4 inches, and kind of alluding to when the town takes over the road, is that something that we want to discuss? I thought we talked about that before, and we had indicated that we weren't interested in taking over the road.
I had a conversation with Mr. Gilmet. He met me there, we walked the road. We talked about the width of the road, the amount of pavement and everything, and when we finished our conversation, he was fine. We've got a 22-foot road, and if you go to the A76, it says recommendation. Doesn't say 24 foot.
I think the issue at the time, more than anything, was the fact that the town wasn't taking roads over.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But now we have agreed to a policy, and if all the requirements made, that we would take the
We
road
did.
over.
But we built
Oh, we
it.
did, yeah, we did, at one of our meetings.
Yeah,
We went over the policy, we made some changes to it.
yeah, we approved the policy.
Road takeover policy.
Yeah.
Was I there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the date on it?
That's not a sign.
That's not a sign.
16th of July, 2024.
Back in July.
Cause we talked about the whole stormwater piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Can
the
I-
stormwater was a big issue.
What's that?
Can I get a copy of that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and that should be posted too on our website, I mean, it's,
It is.
yeah.
I think I got more.
Mr. Cummin's situation's a little bit different because the listers do appraise the property different on that than they did up on,
Yes, you'll get a shot at charging them more for their assessed value.
I think they told us
Yeah.
10%.
And I think what came
Yeah.
back in another
wasn't great.
Another development is we agreed that because of the stormwater issue is maybe we just come to an agreement with the homeowners association to maintain the road and to plow the road, but not take it over. Because we had the whole presentation on how much money we're getting from all the properties.
Oh, that would get you off the hook.
And we said, we would take it over and we gave the different considerations and Peter went back and talked with the state about trying to separate the stormwater and the state said it's not that easy to do. One of the options might just be to come up with an agreement to maintain the road and plow it. And then the night we talked about it, you said, do we do it in perpetuity or do we set a limit and then evaluate it
Well,
after like 10
That was
years?
up at the Maple Ridge.
Yes.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, but I thought we were
Okay,
just
I
taking
see
over a
that
small
too.
portion of the,
It's fairly, it's fairly small
Yeah, but
portion. But
Small
but
or
we-
large, it's the same effect,
Yeah, we still,
oh, yeah,
we still,
I remember that, okay, so.
yeah, and
Excuse
so,
my
but we did,
memory issues, but,
yeah.
so that was just a short distance, wasn't it, that we had agreed?
Yeah, because we already plow into that area and it's like
Okay.
to the next cul-de-sac. And we did, but we did separate from that, but related to that whole discussion is we came up with a road takeover policy. It's like, don't even come in if you can't meet these requirements because this is the minimum of what we're gonna expect if we're gonna take over a road.
but that would have to be between the town and a homeowners association.
Right. Just, it's basically an agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That in some ways makes more sense, especially with the stormwater issue.
And that's
Now,
what
that hasn't been implemented yet.
we have not written up an agreement, they haven't come back, they haven't done the paving yet, they haven't seen the core samples that we said,
Okay,
so.
so that one.
That's all open right now, but
That
it's-
one's open, all right.
Yeah, it was a meeting where you couldn't get here and couldn't get
Right,
logged on,
yeah.
that we talked about, okay, that we might go with an agreement, but we haven't seen all the paperwork to get there.
Yeah.
And, in this situation, that may be very similar.
I don't know, is your homeowners association interested in something like this?
Of course they're gonna be.
You'll,
No, right now, I hold the reins until December 14th. I can make amendments.
oh, so, okay, so
Yeah.
you can change
I
the
can
association
change
charter
it.
then.
They're all moaning about not having the town plow the roads. Why not? We pay taxes. Why don't we get the road plowed?
Yeah.
I don't know, your taxes are gonna go up if you do, if they do.
So right now, that's the 4 inch or 5 inches,
I
the
got
biggest issue.
4 inches and I'm 22
All the other
feet. not-
conditions can be met if we're agreeable, if the board's agreeable to.
But what I was
That.
asked to build it by
What you're talking
is,
about.
is A76. And A76 doesn't say you have to have a paved road.
However,
Unless
that's,
it's a 7% grade. And A76 is, you don't have to have 24-foot
Is it,
pavement.
but you were told that by the town, but does that's not in our agreement, is it?
we have a separate set of road standards.
Okay, we
And
do.
then we have a separate takeover agreement,
Yeah.
there's three things here, there's A76. But there's also a road and bridge standard that the town has adopted, which has requirements in it. And then there is a road takeover policy, which has requirements. So there's, I understand A76 may say it doesn't have to be paved. Our road takeover policy says it has to be paved,
Now, though,
Yeah.
you didn't have that years ago.
understand.
It's probably true.
But that's all right, I mean, again, that road was built with no agreement on that it was gonna be taken
But
over.
we exceeded A76 standards because we used Mirify
I understand
on top
that, I
of 8
understand
inches
that,
of
but
sand.
but we have a standard we've created, and you're coming to us now. That road may have been built to A76 standards with no agreement at all of being taken over. And here we are now, we've got a standard that we are saying we wanna meet. The 4 and 5 inch, I think we can talk about that.
Mhm.
But there's other things, we haven't seen the depth of the material or anything.
Yeah, I've got the letters from Missouri who inspected it.
Okay, and,
Yeah, we're probably less concerned about the A76 right now, this board, more towards the standards that we use, you know, the road standards we have in place right now, that we've been using. And that's, you're probably almost meeting them anyways, if you did, cause you're over 876 standards.
Yes,
What I would like to see from Pete Missouri is 4 inches. Is it a 2-inch base with a 2-inch top? Is it 2.5-inch base with a 1.5-inch
it's a
top?
two and a two.
It's 2 and a 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have the, I don't know what the exact inches of fill or whatever.
The base material.
Yeah, the base.
Well, there's somewhere here, he measured it, but I think he says it exceeds. The road paid one higher. I got so many inspections, it's hard to keep track of.
What would be good is for your engineer to take a look at our road takeover policy and answer each of the requirements on it. That would keep it simple for all of us to look at.
And that is not the 876 standard, really.
Yeah,
Correct.
right.
So, do you have that
You
policy?
just,
What, the A-76?
No, our road takeover policy, you know, the standards that are in the policy.
Yeah, this right here, we have it, yeah.
yeah, it's
This-
just
I
these,
gave them a copy,
items.
and they're on the website.
yeah, you can take, you wanted a copy, you can take that one, cause I found another one here.
Yeah, first of all, we can all look at this. The only one I wanna see is the one that's signed.
Signed.
Because we made changes, so I'm not sure if this is the most current, but that'll give you
Okay.
some idea. But that
Yeah,
says
I
we
appreciate it.
need an 18-inch base, so.
Well, I think that one you sent me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the motion was as amended, so you made amendments before you signed it.
That's why the only one I ever wanna look at when I'm having a discussion with somebody's the one that's signed, and that way I know I got the current one, and
Yeah,
I'm not talking out of school and how to turn.
yeah, we have a larger right of way, you only require 50 feet, we got 60 feet.
What I'm recommending to
We
the
got
board
certification.
as a road commissioner, is we get a letter from either you or Mr. Missouri on how we meet or don't meet the policy, and then we inspect the road. But until we have the paperwork of the depths and that sort of thing, and what we don't meet the 5-inch and the 4-inch issue, and there may be other things like the stormwater issue, because that stormwater, again, this isn't necessarily the final version. Any stormwater permits related to the development must be current and the road portion separate from the other properties connected to the road, and we already know that is not the case here.
Yep.
So then it becomes an issue and the board can discuss it, but it should all be put in one document to us, is whether we do on your road, Jerry Mill Lane, the same thing we anticipate doing on another road in Swanton, but we don't have all the paperwork there yet, so it's still open. And that would be the way forward.
And that has the homeowner, so, but you're, like you say. you
Yeah, I can
raise
make
it.
an amendment to that.
And just to
That's a
confirm,
download.
sorry, and I know this
No,
is the
no, no,
last
no,
one,
no,
but one of the
You
other
can ask
things.
all the questions you want.
But the other one is just to confirm, like, what is large enough?
For you.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what does that,
Because
how
fair to
are we
the
defining it?
Right, and that actually in like the 876 talks about the size of a
And you
cul-de-sac.
don't- you don't
okay.
want
And
So
then
it's
the
got the
other-
X number of feet at the end.
Stormwater.
So you need,
Right.
you know what you need,
And
you
then
need
others,
engineer, eh?
some of them
Yeah.
have what's called a hammerhead. So
Okay,
it's kind
yeah.
of a place you can turn into it.
All right.
Back up, make it out, okay.
Are
The
we
old 3-point turn.
all set with it?
Yeah, and I'll be glad to talk with Peter.
Yeah.
He sends me emails on the other one, and if there's something I can help answer,
Sure.
be glad to work with him.
Did our
Take an
policy mention, if we incurred any expenses, do we pay for those or do we pass them on to the developer?
Oh, I thought there was something about the right of way, the developer will cover all legal costs, conveying the road to the town, includes the
Yes.
town's legal
Okay,
fees,
so
so that
that
was
is-
included in here.
Yeah.
And this is one, because of the stormwater, that's almost a moot point, because the only way, it wouldn't be a total takeover, this would be very similar to
But
the
if
other
we
one.
have to incur an expense
Yes.
for the engineer, that would be borne by Rick.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, we're basically, we don't say the expense, but we're telling them that the owner developer shall have a licensed engineer, private letter states the road meets the requirements listed above before the town agrees to take it over, so we're basically telling them they gotta do that.
So I'll get the paperwork all ready for you to accept it.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah, then we need to consider whether we wanna do that kind of deal.
Similar,
Yep.
yeah, and it gets into, I think, the bigger issue, which the other folks showed us how much money we receive, and the stormwater just makes it a little more complicated, but it's not something we can't do if all the physical requirements to the road are good.
Yeah,
And the other thing, after we get a letter from Peter, I'm gonna stay right here, is we're gonna go up and walk the road
yeah,
before we agree to anything.
well, good. All set?
alright, don't need to make any motions on this one then.
Nope.
No,
Just slowly moving forward.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Rick.
Yeah.
All right, discussion of employee appraisals. I asked Brian to put this on. I was not on the board last year. Previous years, we did annual appraisals on key employees, highway foreman, town administrator, zoning administrator. Each time we didn't have an administrative assistant, I don't think. And I'm curious to what the board's
Is
thoughts
the town
are.
clerk included in that?
Town clerk is
No, town
voted
clerk is not.
separately, so the only thing we could ever do is have some type of, I guess, a feedback session or something, but not an official appraisal, because they're not employed by us.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, and again, when I say stuff like this, that's just Joel Clark's opinion, but because it's a voted position,
Yeah,
that would be difficult.
yeah, we don't have a lot to say.
So I guess the question is, we're coming up to the end of 2024, do we want to do annual appraisal for 2024? And if we don't, do we at least want to set up something so that at the end of 2025, we do an annual appraisal and we give the employees something at the beginning of 2025 so they understand what we're going to be looking at? There should be in the files appraisals from years past where it had about 10 items, and the select board would gather information, and it would have, you know, like 1 out of 5, and then it would have a couple sentences on each of the 10 items of how the employee was doing and so on, and give the employee a chance to, you know, provide feedback as well. To me, it's all part of kind of running a business and stuff, but I don't know what folks' thoughts are on that, but I've thrown it out for discussion.
I think appraisals can be very, very useful, and I think they can be very useful for both sides, but they also can be a destructive process. So, and I'm not familiar at all with the process we employed in the past, so I'd like to see what the process is. And so we all agree going forward, because we may want to make some changes in it, or we may say, hell, that's great, let's move forward. So I'd like to see us revisit the process. And then, once we do that, we could move forward. And I would make a suggestion, just for discussion, that once we agree on the process, maybe Brian could get some idea of how it's handled in other municipalities, because we're dealing with a municipality and not a private corporation, to see what they've come up with for questions, and I'm sure we're gonna have our own. And then one person coordinated on behalf of the board, and then, of course, a lot of communication with the board. We all decide on the questions we're gonna ask, and then we solicit, we give these questions to everybody. We ask, for example, Brian to answer them, and then it comes back to be collated, and then it comes back to the board for review. I just wanna make sure it's tight, because I've seen these things go the wrong way many times. So that's my only, I like to review the process, and maybe have one person be the coordinator for the board, kind of the process, and move it back and forth.
Yeah, I would ask, the first thing is to look in the files and redact any of the, but just what the actual items were that people were evaluated on. There was a pretty straightforward set of items.
Yep.
Not really questions, it was more, you know, administration.
Well, I said
and-
questions,
yeah.
you can call them anything.
Right, but yeah, and I think the first step is to drag those out pass them around to everybody, and then some thought process on how do we gather the information amongst the select board members, and how do we sit down with an
And
employee.
do we add more items, or we take some off?
Oh, absolutely.
Or amend some?
Oh, yeah,
The times change,
yeah,
and it can be very useful, so.
absolutely. So I think that's our first step. If we had those for the next meeting, we share those.
Yep.
And then move forward, and then, to me, I think that the way to really do it is to set it up so that it starts in 2025, because it's not really fair to the employees into 2024 to evaluate them on something we haven't even
Oh, no, I agree.
handed them
I
to say, here's what we're gonna be looking at and discussing it.
Yeah, and we may find that we need a little extra time to fine tune our process.
Right.
And I don't really think we should be rushing it either, because that's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, we'll whittle away at
Get
that.
into the archive.
Get into the archive. And I'm quite sure on home I might have some of that too.
And just for curiosity, who conducts the interviews?
Well, the way, we didn't have it into a lockdown process, but the town administrator works for the select board.
Mhm.
So we would gather amongst the select board members first, comments and ratings, and then we would invite the employee in and have a discussion with them of what we came up with. And another option, and again, this gets into process, so we formalize the process before we start this, is you have the employees prep their own thoughts.
Yeah.
And they come with their thoughts, and we come with our thoughts, and we sit down, and we try to just make everybody understand this is all for improvement. It's not, again, to be a negative thing, it's to be a positive thing and help, growth and so on,
And
feedback.
I would really like to see some effort to correlate our responses, so that
Yeah.
we're gonna be dealing with one voice rather than 5 different voices. And I think it's clearer for the person being interviewed, it's clearer for us.
Absolutely, and that's what we did. We sat down first,
Okay.
and we agreed, because some people had a different idea of what the 1 out of 5 should be, and we all worked on it until we said, all right, we're gonna agree on this number, and here's the comments we're gonna
That's
provide.
helpful.
Yeah, oh yeah, I firmly agree with that. Yeah, okay, we'll work on a process for that. Set date for setup and take down of veteran flags for Veterans Day observance.
Okay, Veterans Day is Monday, November 11th. So I would recommend that we set Saturday, November 9th, 9 a.m. to set up the flags. Rain date is Sunday, November 10th. And then the takedown would be the following Saturday, November 16th, again at 9 a.m. with the rain date being Sunday, November 17th.
Works for me, and what I will do with Adam is go down Friday night and,
Yeah, that worked.
and paint like we did last year, so people come in, just start drilling, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that
know
worked well.
Bill Sheets said he would probably bring a team
I'll
again, so if
remind
you
him.
talk with
Yeah,
him.
and I think we ought to get, I'll try to get Matt Walker to get the boys basketball team.
Well, those kids really work.
I mean,
Well,
this was
it
like
wore
an
us
hour,
out.
15 minutes last year, that
I was
was,
getting worn out.
that was a record, I think, last year.
So, yeah,
Just to throw something out, we bring these kids in, and should we kind of think of some refreshments, maybe 3 dozen donuts from Dunkin' Donuts and coffee
Yeah,
and juice?
certainly.
Just a way of saying thank
Absolutely,
you.
we should.
yeah.
Not until they get done.
I get 1 per flag.
But they really did pitch in.
Oh, that was-
We have some of the hardest working young people that I've ever met in our community. and
Yeah.
It's really something to be proud about.
Yeah, they were fun.
Yeah,
All right.
okay, so that's that.
All right, on to discussion of the 2025 budget schedule, asked to have that added, and Brian said he and Kathy already were talking about it and wanted to have it added. So.
Yeah, well,
And should we bring her in for this piece of it, or,
I can see if she's
I know it's the last day of
maybe in the middle of
tax money
something,
coming in.
but
Shall we sign the orders while we're waiting?
Yes,
They're in front of you, Joel.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I just thought it was another pile of paper next to me. Actually, I don't do this. Start them on that end and come this way.
That's usually what you do.
Any more houses being built where you are,
Kathy
or
looks
they
like she
built out
needs
the
a
whole
break.
area?
So they built out the whole area, but there's one more property that they're looking to sell right now, where there was the old farmhouse at the start of the road.
Yeah,
And so Travis is looking to see if he can sell the property as is, or or either way, if it doesn't sell quick, he's gonna demo it and build something new.
Thank you.
Pay my taxes, right?
They're signing the orders.
Any questions?
Good evening.
I had one question, and it was what was this?
For the village.
Oh, that's the, electric at the depot.
Oh, the electric
It's
bill.
electric bill at the depot.
Oh, it's the electric bill.
All right, thank you.
That,
Did you hear that, Joel?
Yes, thank you.
So, anyways, Kathy and I have talked about the budget process. And this would be the third year that I've been involved with the budget. And, you know, we sent out a letter, I followed always the same format, saying, you know, on such and such a date, come in before the board. And then they get here and they're not ready. So the process that we've had has not worked. So what we're thinking about, and Kathy jump in, is to, and I'm not concerned about the highway department budget or, you know, the general fund budget. I mean, that's done right here.
Right.
We can do that. But for the, like the village, the police, the fire, recreation, library, that I'll send them all an email asking what is the, when will they have their budget, when will they have their final
Official
numbers ready?
numbers.
Their official numbers ready. And so I can get some semblance of a date, and then if we need a special meeting just to do the budgets, we'll do them all one night, or one meeting.
and can you ask that we have these at least a week before
A
the
week
meeting?
before, yes.
Sent to us.
Right.
I hate it when they walk in and say, here's the budget.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And the other frustrating thing, and I'm not sure you can correct it, is a budget. It is not the end of year tally. So oftentimes they back us into a corner right to the end because they want to know exactly what they spent at the end of December. I know there's a carryover issue, but you can approximate it at that
Well,
point.
yeah, we would call it annualize it, you know,
And-
for whatever they got done.
And then
yeah.
come up with their budget numbers
Right.
and not wait till the last
Last
day
minute.
that we can possibly
Right.
approve it. 'Cause we have questions
Oh, I
and things,
agree.
in all fairness to us, it's a budget they're presenting us, it's not the expenditures for 2025. And
No, and that,
'Cause it seems like we come in, we have them, they leave, they come in, we're doing like 4 meetings, and we don't get until the 5th meeting is when we get everything, because like with the fire, with the rescue, the fire, we don't have those numbers until Lynn gets them, and she usually doesn't get them until December. Then December for our January first meeting in January. That's when we usually get the hard numbers, know exactly what the budget is, otherwise, we're meeting with them and we don't know about this number, we don't know about that number. So with them, we can ask them to come in 3 or 4 times, but honestly, we're not gonna get our number until the end of the year.
when do we have to approve a budget to get everything printed and,
The beginning of
meet any
January.
legal deadlines?
Mid-January at the worst, the second week in January, I would go.
to get it into our book, right?
To get everything presented and printed and get an order and get it sent to the printer, cause we usually send it like the 3rd or 4th week of January.
But again, it's a budget they're presenting us, you know? So when they say the final numbers, they could create a budget today
Yeah.
if they really had to for 2025.
yeah.
You know?
But
That's what I'm getting at.
Right, no, I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
yeah. And, you know, I don't, I don't wanna tell them how to do their budget, but basically that's what they need to
Yeah.
do, is if they took their October 31st end, let's say, and then they could annualize that for the months of November and December, and okay, that's
The
the
heating bill
estimate.
may be off by $50, so the
Right.
carryover may be
And,
off by $50.
I mean, for like our ones, like the library, the rec, ourselves, I mean, we can pretty much get those done.
Yeah. Those
Doing
are
it the
not-
way you'd like to do it. But where we really come in not getting the true numbers is the village, because they do it their way, and they can't get us those numbers until after they have their first meeting in January.
And I almost think they want to have their auditors do their audit before they go, but I can talk with Lynn about that,
Talk with Bill as well.
and Bill.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question to the chief the other night, our last meeting, you know, what's the budget looking like? I mean, what are you gonna do in 2025? Are we looking at another major increase or not? They ought to have some idea, if they were holding the line and keeping the boards the same and, you know, holding it as best they can, then it should be only a small increase.
I agree. It should just be cost of living.
That's right. Then same thing with the fire department, do they need a major purchase? I mean, is this coming down the pipe, you know? Rescue squad, same way, that question maybe should be asked, more than having them come in here, and say, hey, you guys are gonna spend a lot more this year, you know?
Oh, that's if you put a letter with questions to them in advance.
Yeah,
But I would have the conversation with Bill
yeah,
as well and see if you can make any headway.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Same thing with the rescue squad, there's a lot of
Yeah.
things going on with them too.
I mean, Bill had experience with doing the budget, I'm sure, for the state police, which was massive.
Yeah.
And they had to go through this, yeah, they're on a fiscal year, but it's still the same
Yeah.
process.
One of the ones where we pay 76%, I think in all fairness to us, we
Right.
should be seeing it
Yeah,
Yeah,
before January, you know,
Yeah.
when we gotta print it, but that's,
yeah,
especially if they're looking at something new.
yeah,
The other thing we did last year, for those budgets that we oversee, that we have the authority on, I think we asked to keep it within a percentage increase last year, and they all acquiesced to that.
Yeah.
So we may want to, just for our own folks, for guidance for them, say, we'd like your budget to stay within an increase of X percent, considering inflation and salary increases and things like that. At least it gives them a collar around their efforts.
Did we get any numbers on the health insurance?
Not yet,
Nothing's come out on that.
no.
That's what I was gonna ask, like, what do
Usually
you do?
comes out in November.
Ooh.
Sure.
Late.
I haven't even gotten an email on it yet.
They still talking the same about the education tax again?
No,
They're talking another increase this year of 9 to 10%?
that's what they said.
I heard the governor say 7, but
Okay,
who knows at this stage.
No, you don't know until after.
Yeah, I agree, Steve, we should encourage our different departments to really
did
take a
good.
good look at the budgets and minimize,
And they did a good job last year, they kept
Yeah.
it really down,
Yeah.
so.
you know, and we should get some carryover this year, especially in the highway department, because we spent nowhere near 160,000 on Swan Hill.
no, and we said that was gonna be a 2-year,
Yeah,
Right.
2
so we
years.
actually are gonna have to,
So are we gonna put that,
yeah, I'm gonna work with Kevin
Okay.
on that
Yeah,
piece.
so there's,
Yeah, yeah, again, we're not really worried about our in-house budgets here,
Yeah.
I mean, we've been working
we
around
can
those.
work those out.
yeah, we won't be, you know, nice to do new things, but right now, about the right time, let's find some other sort of income.
But, so we'll do that, we'll try that approach, hopefully it'll be smoother, and I'll talk with Bill and.
I think poor Kathy, you've seen too many happy people lately, have you?
Alright, anything else on the 2025 budget schedule process?
I'll keep you posted how we make out.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Community and Economic Development,
Not much there.
any other necessary business?
I got correspondence.
Correspondence?
Just briefly, it was an email from Hank Lambert about the trees, and they also have a new coordinator for the Swanton Enhancement Program Beautification Committee. First of all, Frank Shumway is planting 10 trees on Canada Street, which meets the annual goal of the 7-year plan. New trees are planted on 2 sides of Canada Street near the intersection of Spring Street, and I saw they were planted last week, I believe. And he's working with the Northwest Regional Planning Commission to apply for a grant for street side trees. And the submittal for that is January 2025. And also welcoming Susie Kelleher as the new coordinator of the SEP Beautification Committee. So any communications should be directed to Susie. But he'll be continuing to be involved as a member of the committee. So thanks everybody for their support. So, and they've done a great job. We had many compliments this year on this building as well as the area in general. It looked very nice.
I don't think this building has ever looked this nice.
I agree.
Those
Really?
boxes are something else, what they came up with, and for the first year, it's.
Yeah.
I don't have a green thumb, I'll be the first to admit it, but this, I mean, it really, I like them when they look nice and I don't have to do the work to take care of them.
All right, public comment. I don't have any upcoming events, Nicole?
Upcoming events, Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024 will be the Planning Commission at 5 PM here at the town offices and by Zoom. Thursday, October 24th, 2024, the DRB will meet at 6 PM here at the town offices and by Zoom. Tuesday, November 5th, 2024 is General Election Day. The polls will be open from 7 AM to 7 PM at the Village Municipal Complex at 121st Street. Town offices will be closed due to elections. Tuesday, November 5th, 2024 will be a regular select board meeting at 6 PM. Town offices and by Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
What's that?
You're gonna have a select board meeting on
Election
election
day?
Yeah, we did, I was told they did in the past.
Really?
Did last year too.
Well, last year wasn't one.
Yeah, but it wasn't a national election, it was just
Yeah, I don't think we really wanna do that, do we?
Yeah, I don't-
No, I don't wanna do it on election night.
Wanna do a special one on Monday, the 4th?
Yeah, or after the election, well, maybe we should do it before, might not be around after.
It's a national one. Steve, your thoughts?
Monday the 4th, that's fine, sure.
Yeah, that works for me.
I agree, Monday the 4th is better.
Yep.
So we'll
All right.
change that to Monday.
Monday.
Can I get that as a motion, that way it'll be official, seeing how we just read the other?
Alright, I'll move that we move our regular first Tuesday of the month meeting to Monday, November 4th, 2024, town office at 6 PM.
Here a second.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
All right.
Aye, opposed, so moved. Executive session for real estate, do I hear a motion?
I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential real estate information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
Okay, roll call vote. Steve?
All right.
Brendan?
Aye.
Joel, aye. Earl?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Okay, motion two.
I move that based on our just made findings, the premature disclosure would place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage. We now enter executive session.
Steve?
All right.
Brendan?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Earl?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
All right, we're in executive session at 7:43.